Hello, hello. This is Jeanette Chasworth, the Color Whisperer, and welcome to our show where we talk about all things home and healing. And today I'm really excited to share with you somebody who is really passionate about her work, and what she does is so amazing. So, we've talked a little bit about biophilia a few times in this podcast, and that basically is all about plants because they give us a lot of health. It's really important to have plants around you and to bring the green inside. That's one of the design techniques is we want to bring nature in because it's so important for our bodies to have it. So I want to bring on Aaliyah Hulakui, and she's going to talk to us all about plants and how magical they are. Hello, Aaliyah.
Hi, how is everybody today?
Great.
I'm doing I'm doing very, very well. We've got a lot going on over here, but I'm happy to take some time and talk to you guys all about this today.
So you have a treatise that you were talking about earlier about biodiversity, and well, I want you to start there because this is something you're really passionate about, and let's get into the meat of it.
The meat of
The meat.
so you're you're not the only living thing in your house, right? You as a human engage with the human world as you will. You have your pets that also live in your house, whatever those pets may be, dogs and cats, fish, reptiles. And then the things that you don't really see that are living in your house, all the things that you refuse to believe live in your house, any little bugs, spiders, that kind of stuff. Um, and we do our best to keep those spaces clean, right? For our health, for the health of our pets. Um, but there are a lot of things that we can do to utilize plants inside of our home to create a more comfortable environment health wise for ourselves and our animals. Um, Utilizing other things than just plants. You can use rocks, you can use crystals, you can use glass, you can use all kinds of other elements to amplify the energy in your house. That includes fresh plants and dried plants, um, in all of their utilizing them in all of their life cycles.
That's awesome. So let's just do a little. I got excited, but let's. How long have you been doing this? Let's do a little background on you first, because this what got you into this and what makes you so passionate about it is a really amazing story too.
So, my name is Aaliyah Holakui. I am second generation florist. My mom is Margaret Holakui. We've had a flower shop here in Arcadia since 1987. My mom's been doing this her entire life. Instead of selling lemonade, she was selling camellias on the street corner. Um, so, really, plants and nature and flowers run through my blood. Um, I got my certification in meeting and event planning in 2009 from Cal State Dominguez Hills, and I've been doing that for a long time. It has allowed me to engage in every facet of event planning and celebrations, from birthdays to memorials and all of the major moments in between.
Yes.
Weddings, new babies, graduations, all that good stuff. So we joked about this in backstage area that I jumped offline when people were getting online because it was still really important to me to connect with the human even when we couldn't physically connect. I just couldn't grasp that computer, this technological energy just doesn't really flow well with me. It's a lot of energetic static within my world. And so in that time and space, connecting with humans involved doing a lot of funerals. We lost a lot of people in these last few years through very tragic circumstances. And I have sat with a lot of people in the heights of their emotions. And it is through that I've really discovered my purpose. I have gathered much joy in my life through connecting with people and helping them through some of the toughest moments in theirs. I get flowers at the end of their life cycle, once they've already been cut from the plant, right? So it's a very short window before they expire. And often now I'm getting these families that when their loved one's life here has expired, and I'm giving them the most beautiful send-off that I can possibly give them, both the flower and the human.
Yeah, it's very special. I actually have a very special moment with your floor. It was before we met and we knew each other, but when my mom died, I was the president of the ASID chapter here in Pasadena, and they sent me flowers. And it was really the only flowers that she got, that I got. It was the only remembrance outside of the family. And it was so touching to get those. And when somebody that close to you passes away, it's like somebody rips out your heart, and it feels like the world stands still. And I remember looking out the window looking at cars going by, going, how come the world's still going on for them? How come they didn't stop from it? And of course they don't know my mom, and the brain takes over, but there's a second of like, wait, the world is still turning and it's not supposed to be. And having those flowers was like, oh, wait, somebody else gets that I'm not in an okay place, So it really means a lot. And they're gorgeous flowers. The work you do is so creative and so beautiful. And it's healing, because having that touch, having that remembrance, you can keep a flower, you save the dried flower. There's so many things you can do to kind of keep that memory alive. It's really important.
Definitely.
So you mentioned something now I'm very familiar with rocks and crystals and how those can be used as biodiversity. But tell me about glass, because that's a new one for me.
Oh, we like glass, you can see through glass, right? So you can put anything within a glass vessel and be able to take it anywhere with you, even if it's dirt.
Yes.
Even if it's
dirt, yes.
Right? Because sometimes you need to bring it in and sometimes you need to see the dirt.
Yes.
And that's representative of a lot of things in life, right? Sometimes you need to see the dirt to appreciate the flowers that are on the top.
And we need to see the dirt to know what to clean off.
You need to know what dirt looks like in order to clean it off.
Right? And there's a healing power of just the earth, being out in nature and earthing. So tell me a little bit about how that works for you and bringing in the flowers into that as well.
So I'm a very simple human. I have a very small apartment and I have a very small patio that is my little safe haven. It's a hyper controlled environment because I'm not a very standard human. I like oddball things. I am very inspired by other creative humans. I buy a lot of original art. I put it up in my space and look at it all the time because other people's art inspires me to be a better artist myself. And I have large scale and very small scale, obscure to very abstract to very hyper controlled, linear, tiny pencil drawings, all kinds of things, because they all represent different facets of my personality. As a Gemini, I'm kind of all over the place. And it allows me to tap into different things at different points. And so that's inside my house. I have a lot of plants inside. I'm a huge fan of growing anthurium inside. The leaves and plants tend to be easy to grow, but to have the flowers grow again is a little more difficult. And I have a tendency to watch the flowers die on the plant and then cut them off and save them. But now, because I'm like, okay, well, when is it going to grow back again? Right? I save the orchid bases too, because once the flowers die, it takes about a year. So some of these plants really remind you that patience is a virtue, and they still need water in the interim. You still need to water yourself too when you don't think that you can or want to or are deserving. You still need to.
Yeah.
And your space needs to foster that environment as well. You know, caring for a plant also cares for yourself. Touching all of it, touching the water.
There's great healing in planting. I am not the world's greatest gardener, admittedly. However, when I do it, I get done like, wow, that feels really good. Why don't I do this more often?
Right? Especially if it's a little snippet in the middle of the day when you can soak in some sun, and you know, that vitamin D on your skin just elevates your mood, and you take that with you through your day. So really what you do at home does translate into what happens in your daily life.
And just getting that little bit of earth underneath you every morning puts you more in touch with nature. It grounds you. It can help to calm you. And it's so important. I love going outside in the morning, and I've got an outdoor shower, and it's on the east side of my house, so it's right there where the sun rising up, and I'll just sit on my steps and soak up the sun, and it's so nice. And it's just, what a beautiful way to start the day. You know, you get up early and see the sunrise many days. I don't always, but there is a gift in getting up that early, that you do get to see the sunrise, and it's stunning.
It is, you know what? It really is a blessing. I get up, my alarm is set for 3:30 in the morning, 6 days a week. And I do watch the sunrise every morning, and it is a blessing every single day to be able to watch it rise. And at the end of the day, I do make it a point to go outside during the sunset when it's setting and the sky is a bunch of different colors. And sometimes, I mean, you can't beat an LA sunset. You can't. I mean, maybe Hawaii has some pretty spectacular sunsets. But an LA sunset, just to watch it and be grateful for another day.
Yeah. We do get
to
some
be able to go home. Yeah.
Yeah.
But an East Coast sunrise. Have you been on the East Coast to watch a sunrise?
I have not.
Let's make it a point to do that.
Okay.
Watch the sun come up over the eastern horizon.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
I've been on the East Coast, but admittedly, I was not up for sunrise. I did see the sunset, which was gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Caribbean sunrise is probably my favorite.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I have not been.
It's warm and humid.
I've been to Europe, but I have not been to the Caribbean.
Put that on your list, because it's on my short list all the time.
Bucket list time.
No, I'm putting an outdoor shower on my bucket list.
Oh, I tell you, it's awesome. It's so great. And there's nothing like the feel of the sun on you. And when I got married a very long time ago, we had an outdoor shower. We got married at a B&B, and we stayed the night there, and they had an outdoor shower. And I was like, this is so cool. And it was all private and everything, but they had this little patio, and nobody could see, but it was just so nice. And that was my COVID project. I said, you know what? I've wanted this for a long time. I'm going to make it happen. And so I
Yes.
did. And it does keep me more grounded, more connected to the earth. And, I'm getting sun, I'm getting water, I'm getting stone, it's slate on the floor. So I'm getting a lot of earthly elements all in one, little time span, which really does.
Yes, elemental texture.
Yes.
Yes.
And I know on days when it's too cold or I'm up too early for it to be out there, I do notice a difference in myself when I don't get that time.
Yeah, creating a little ritual for yourself every day makes all the difference. Even if it's getting up in the morning and grinding your own coffee beans to put in your little coffee pod and sitting outside for 5 minutes, because 5 minutes is all that you have.
Yeah.
That's all that you have, and that's all that it takes.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about biophilia and the healing power of plants in your house. So tell me what are the benefits of having a plant in your house, like a real live plant?
It changes the oxygen levels in your house. You consume oxygen. Your animals consume oxygen. Your electronics circulate the air in your house, and it circulates all of whatever is in the air of your house. Your HVAC system has a filter, and if you change it regularly the way that you're supposed to, it filters out a lot of the dander and the gross stuff that's in the air. But it's not filtering the carbon dioxide out of the air. So plants really change the air in your house. It affects how you breathe. So open your windows and change the air. Allow some new air and energy and everything. Allow the world to circulate throughout your space.
Yeah, because the house can
get important.
Yeah, the house can feel stale, and that's the quickest and easiest way to do it, is just to open a window.
Yeah. Yeah, most indoor plants don't require a lot. Diffuse sun, water, a little bit of attention.
You talk to your plants?
All the time. Every single one of them has a name.
Yay.
And just like humans, they all have different needs. Right? What I need is different from what you need, which is different from what my mom needs, which is different from what, Pepe, my dog, needs. He thinks he's a human.
He's spoiled like a human.
Yeah. But it's also important to take into consideration any allergies that, there are some plants that are poisonous to animals, and if you're choosing to have animals in your house, it's important to know what those are. No lilies in your house. If you have cats, lilies are very toxic to cats. Most other things are okay, but it's best to steer clear with anything inside. Steer clear of anything with the milky sap. Those tend to be poisonous to not only animals, but also humans.
So, okay. I don't know nothing about plants except they're green. They have round leaves. They have sharp leaves. So what's a milky sap?
So when
they're yellow, that's all I know.
When you take a leaf off of a plant, say you have a plumeria, right? They have they have those really beautiful, fragrant flowers that are about this big. And you find them a lot in Hawaii. They're prevalent here in Southern California because it's the right environment. When you take a leaf off, there's a sap that forms at the breaking point, and that sap is white. It's milky. It will change water from clear to milky.
Okay.
That all of those, succulents included, are not safe for animals or humans to consume.
Okay. So the sap should be clear, or should be green, or should be what?
Clear if clear.
Okay.
But try not to ingest the flowers that unless they're coming off of edible plants, like vegetable plants. There are certain edible flowers, or orchids, squash blossoms, among a variety of others. That you can eat, but they have to be prepared in a certain way. Like pansies, you can put in salads and stuff like that. They're really pretty, and you can just eat them fresh.
Really?
You'll see dendrobium blossoms on Mai Tais. I mean, I'm a cocktail fan, so like I know the flowers that you can put in drinks.
Yes, I have had another B&B I stayed at, and they had the breakfast they gave us was some kind of cold soup, and then there were some edible flowers in it. So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
That was pretty cool. And it's like, you don't think about it. You know, we're so used to just going to the grocery store that we don't think about what's in our garden that we can eat. I had a relative who, she grew everything in her garden, and when it was lunchtime or dinner time, she'd just go out in the back and, okay, what's blooming, and she'd pick it
and eat it.
Right? And you know, back then, this was a long time. Oh, she's crazy, you know. Everybody was like, oh, Katie's a little weird. But you know what? The weird thing really is going to the grocery store and getting something that's, you know, it's been hauled through traffic. It's been, you know, pesticides on it. There's all kinds of stuff on it to try to keep it green. Like, really, what's more natural than going to your backyard and picking stuff? Hey, Mark, you got some questions?
I did. Y'all are making me a little bit upset because I'm going like, wait a minute, I have no plants in my house. I need some plants in my house. I'm looking back at Aaliyah's house and going like, I need some plants in this place. I definitely don't have any pets either, but I was going like, there needs to be some plants in this house just to give it some joy and all of that. You kind of alluded to it, Aaliyah, but I was just wondering, I do know that some people are very adamant about talking to their plants. And, you know, I sometimes think that we even need to talk to the passing trees, because I know that sometimes if you're leaning on them, you might want to give them some respect and say, hey, I'm leaning on you for a minute. I know that even sometimes when I have spilled stuff on them, I may let them know that it was nothing personal and all in that space. And some of my friends might be like, that's a little bit on the crazy side. But I think that there's nothing wrong with talking to plants, including nature plants. But I was just wondering your thoughts about that.
No, thanking them for being there, for changing our environment, for, you know, they have their own energy. They communicate with each other. You'll see trees as you look up, they'll grow so close to each other, but they won't touch. But they'll grow so close, and they just talk to each other. I talk to them all the time. When you look and see on a tree, the knots on the outside, they'll often look like eyeballs. Mm-hmm. And I saw a tree on my walk the other day with my dogs, and it's full of eyes. It's 5 big trunks coming out of one stump, and it must be at least 50 different eyeballs, and they all look different. I'll have to post it in the chat here, so you guys can see it. Maybe we can post it in some sort of, however we communicate with each other. But it was so interesting. I'm like, there's a different personality in each. And I said, how many people are stuck in here right now?
Well, not only that,
Ancestors and such, because they, the souls get trapped sometimes.
Well,
they,
the Indian, because I've done some shaman training, so in that world, the trees are our ancestors, and I
Yeah.
did a retreat several years ago, and we had to go find our grandmother tree.
oh
And
wow,
so we connected with a tree, and we literally just sat next to it and communicated with it. And communication happens in many ways. It's not like I sat and I talked to the tree and the tree talked back. I mean, but it's like we talk to our animals. They talk back to us. They let us know. They don't have
Yes.
words, but
no,
they
they
let us know.
they definitely talk back to us, but
And so it's the same thing with a tree, is like just being with it and being open to its energy and thanking it
Yeah.
for the shade that it provides, the oxygen it provides for us. And then it gives us support, and we can feel that strength.
But I have an
The
interesting theory. It might be a slightly crazy theory and everything, but maybe we're a little bit behind the trees and some of the other animals. I know we're supposed to be the greatest of the living creatures in terms of the ascension order and all of that. But for the last couple of years, and Aaliyah, you kind of alluded to it, and all in that space, we've been very much happy with this whole notion of the internet, and the internet being an ability to communicate with people from around the world. Now, it is my understanding, and I could be wrong. Haven't trees been doing this for centuries? Because I think that those roots are actually a whole system of communications that has been going on for decades, if not centuries, if not years. So maybe we're a little bit behind the times, because I'm thinking that those roots are spreading across like the nation and are communicating from one tree to another. So one tree in North Carolina might be communicating to a tree in Texas, might be communicating to a tree in California. Now, I could be totally wrong because I don't have that kind of scientific knowledge, but it makes sense to me. But I was just wondering y'all's thoughts around that.
I think everything and everyone is connected.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. Me to the ginkgo tree outside.
Right.
And
you go through the redwoods. I mean, how old are those trees, Aaliyah? They're like hundreds of years old.
Yeah, the oldest tree
800 years
ever is
old.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just walking through them, there's this majesty, there's this awe that's not dissimilar to walking into a cathedral, but it is a cathedral of trees. And when you're there and looking at these trees, when I went on my trip last year, I was in South Carolina, and there's this tree. It was huge. And the redwoods, I think they don't let you do it anymore. Did it fall down, Aaliyah? Maybe you remember. But there was a tree that you could drive through the bottom.
Yeah, you can't drive through it anymore, but there is a big hole in the tree that you can drive through that you just can't drive. I did it 30 years ago. It's funny. My grandparents and I, when I was like 9 years old, we drove up the coast from California to Washington to see my aunt. And I'm doing that same drive with my mom this summer, and we're going to take the same route. We're going to drive through the redwoods. We're going to do the things. And I haven't seen them in so long, these trees. And it's like reconnecting with a part of myself that I really needed to, and I still really need to.
Aaliyah, one of the things I've noticed is that sometimes that plant energy isn't just good for the personal house, but as I've told Jeanette before, I have a neighbor here in the apartment complex where I live that is originally from Brazil, and she has grown a garden for the last 4 years or 5 years that I've known her, including down the pandemic times. And that garden was, tomatoes, cucumbers, a number of other edible vegetables and things along those lines. Might have even been a fruit or two in that space. But one of the things that everybody seemed to have enjoyed, I can't remember if she planted it last year, but I know that 2 or 3 years before, and I'm thinking she'll plant it this year, she has had a sunflower plant. And that sunflower plant has been something that has really resonated with folks here because they love the beauty of it as it sprouts, usually going from her apartment, which is at the bottom level, similar to where I am, to the top level in the part of the apartment that she is in, and all in that space. But
that's awesome.
And you enjoy that little plot of dirt give you everybody else there because she was growing the sunflowers.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And sunflowers are really cool because they actually follow the sun.
Mhm.
So, have you ever seen a field of sunflowers? It's
Their
really
heads will
cool.
turn.
Yes, I was in France and we drove by the field of sunflowers in the morning and they were all facing one way. And then we came back at night and it was like they followed the sun. It was the coolest thing.
And some of the plants that you see in people's houses, some people are not the biggest fans of them, but like you said earlier, Aaliyah, some of the plants fit the personality. Because I know that I don't know because they kind of remind people of porcupines, and they are kind of prickly. But some people can be prickly as well. So as that person that is prickly, they might like a cactus. I personally don't want a cactus in my house, but there are other folks that a cactus might be very much part of their personality. So I'm thinking that there are plants that are more fitting to the personality, but other folks may not be the biggest fan of that plant. But I was just wondering your thoughts around that. So.
Absolutely. When selecting a plant for yourself, go to what you're drawn to, but also you have to understand yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you know that you can't water a plant to save your life, then maybe a cactus is for you.
Right.
But there are cacti that aren't prickly, that you're not going to use as a battle axe towards someone. There are ones that are really pretty and soft and fuzzy,
right,
or don't have that big of spines, pokies that come out, and they just bloom a couple of giant flowers.
Well, I have to check into those. That might be an idea. The other thing I was curious about is some people are not the biggest fans, but some people love them, of plastic plants. So what is your thoughts around those plants that are not really natural? They don't really do that much in the oxygen space that y'all have been talking about, but sometimes they can add a certain beauty and everything. But I was just wondering your thoughts around artificial plants.
They have, permanent botanicals have their place. They do. In zero light locations, I know that Jeanette and I are working on a project together for the interior bathroom of a corporate office building. And it doesn't have any windows.
Right.
And there can be zero maintenance. But it still has to be aesthetically pleasing, and a piece of art just won't do it.
Right. Well, that makes sense.
What we're creating is so beautiful. It is a landscaping company, and we're creating a piece of art out of succulents. And because it's in a place that's difficult to water, it's all artificial. And it fits the brand and it fits the convenience, because then somebody's got to go and water it all the time. And, it's, even though that's what they do, they don't want to have to worry about it,
No, that makes sense. Hey, Jeanette and Aaliyah, the other question I'm going to bounce off and let y'all continue y'all's conversation I was curious about is, I do know that sometimes you can go visit a person and the animals will let you know whether they like you or don't like you. They will definitely let you know that. And I was just wondering, do plants have that same ability? Because, they don't necessarily, as Jeanette said, communicate. But I was wondering if there are times that plants will be like, like let's just say you're in that single space, that the plant will let you know, no, that's not the woman for you, or no, that's not the guy for you, and all in that space too. So do plants have a way of communicating also as to the way that animals do, in your opinion? Because I do know that animals will definitely let you know, just like if you're a mother or father, the children will let you know if you're in that space. But I was wondering, do you think that plants sometimes let people know maybe they droop a certain way, that they're like, no, I'm not really feeling that person?
I think more so in cut flowers than in plant flowers, like plants themselves, because plants themselves require energy. Cut flowers are beautiful but purely aesthetic. You can prolong their life by cutting the stems and changing the water, but their life expectancy is limited, right? And it all depends on that person. If they care about what you sent them, they're not going to put it under a heating vent. They're going to take the steps to prolong the life of your gift.
Right.
So if they're dead in a day, it's because the person doesn't care.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. I can definitely see that. Well,
That's my gut. That's my gut.
I can see that for sure. Well, I'm going to turn it back over to y'all. Y'all were having a fantastic conversation, but I love it. Chiming in. By the way, I hope that because that was one of the things that we've used before, but in the backdrop, in case you were wondering, that is Duke Gardens. And it is a botanical garden that is right here in Durham, North Carolina, which is where I am based at. And I do know that ever since they reopened about a year and a half ago, you will see entire churches, entire school classes, because it is on Duke's campus. You'll see couples and a number of other folks that are going there, enjoying that botanical garden that has plants from around the world. So it's not just plants that are native to North Carolina, but it's plants from around the world. And it is pretty much on Duke's campus and not that far from downtown Durham either. So a lot of folks come here, including folks to come to visit, and they will make sure that they stop at the Duke Botanical Gardens.
I'm going to put that on my short list.
Isn't it? It's beautiful, isn't it? I mean, I always tell myself I want something pretty behind us because, and this place just really is stunning. Yep. It's like the Arboretum, but they got different flowers and trees and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a different climate, different growing zone.
Different climate, whole different world. Although I can almost see the little house in the corner there. the plane. So for those of you who were kind of having a little inside joke, but the Arboretum is where they filmed Fantasy Island, and there's this little very cute cottage there, and it's right by a lake like this. So anyway.
Wait a minute, I had to pop back in on that note and everything. So you mean to tell me that I was thinking that there was actually a Fantasy Island where, the short guy and
Montalban all the time.
and Montalban were actually not there. It wasn't an actual island off somewhere. It was over there in California. You have shattered the myth and all that. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this. You have shattered the myth. But I did love Fantasy Island.
A lot of movies were shot there, actually. Anaconda was shot there. All the old Tarzan movies were shot there. The black and white Tarzan movies were shot there. Anytime you saw a jungle but there's a desert area. There's you can probably be more specific, Aaliyah, but they have several different environments there. So Hollywood would just hey, we don't have to go to the desert. We just got to go to Arcadia.
No, we don't Arcadia makes sense.
Go to Arcadia. It's right there.
It makes sense, and I'm going to leave y'all alone. I am going to tease y'all because I was watching some old TV, and with the time I was watching it, you don't pay that much attention to the details because you were like me, either a child or a young person watching it and all in that spaces. So the last couple of days, I've watched some old episodes of Kojak, and I was watching an old episode of Hunter and everything. And the thing that as I was watching it, I was going like, wait a minute, this is set in LA. Y'all are having a car chase. Why do I not see any cars in the car chase? Because I'm going like, there are absolutely no cars in the car chase. Because, right now there would be cars all over the car chase and they'd be dodging the cars. But they managed to do a chase in LA, because I think Hunter is set in LA, and there was no cars in the chase. I'm like, this doesn't
Little House on the Prairie wasn't on the prairie. It's right there below the Santa Monica Mountains. There's no mountains in the prairie.
Oh, y'all are shattering all the myths. So I'm going to let y'all go back and shattering other myths.
He's like, you're bursting my bubbles. I'm out of here.
So Aaliyah, we have about 20 minutes left, but I want to make sure we see some of your work, and let's talk about personalities of flowers and like how you were talking about having the flowers match the person. So can we talk a little bit about that, and can you show us some stuff?
Oh, I can show you some stuff. As a matter of fact, I found something in the market last week that I've never seen before. And I bought it because I'd never seen it before. And it's not for sale. I bought them just to bring them back to my mom. because I love my mom, and she's deserving of things that I've never seen before, because I'm the one who goes downtown. And before me, it was my dad who went downtown. And this is my wonderful, lovely assistant, Kimberly, who's here. Now, come here. Oh, come here. This is Kimberly. She's the one who just handed me these beautiful flowers. But when I got to the market and I saw these, and I asked my vendor, I said, what are these?
They're beautiful.
She said, I'm not really sure. She said, I think they're lilies. They're from Japan. She said, and I think they're lilies, but they come with 3 heads to a stem.
Wow.
And this one has 4.
That's really beautiful.
But there are so many petals. You just don't see a lily that looks like this ever.
No, they're beautiful. They're beautiful. And that's the
But
kind of
it
stuff that
makes-
I like. I like that layered look. You've made some flowers for me that are just beautiful. And I'm always looking for the unusual thing, right? And I'm like, oh, I've never seen that before. Jeanette,
Yeah.
flowers for Jeanette. I get to be a little bit weird.
Right, but when I know the person, or I get a chance to learn more about the person that the flowers are going to, it's a lot easier for me to select things that are representative of the relationship, of the occasion, of the human, what their likes and dislikes are, what if I've ever seen them before, what their colors are, what they feel the best in, what works in their home, if I've been inside their home before or delivered to them before. And being able to, I have a tendency to touch things, to touch everything. And when I worked in the linen rental industry, I would touch all of the tablecloths, the napkins, the table runners, the chair covers, the everything. Because oftentimes, like we were talking about grounding a little bit ago, and grounding is engaging of all of the senses. And it's a very tactile experience, because you're tapping back into what makes you feel like yourself, and the memories that are included in that involve more than just a singular sense. So you're leaning on a table that has stuff on it.
Mm-hmm.
Either it's beautifully set or it's not. You are exchanging energy with someone. But I plan parties, right? And I choose things because I want to create a feeling within people that they take with them after the event is over. So I met with a bride yesterday, and I said, how do you want your guests to feel in your space for your wedding? I know that you want it's love and all these things, but it's a wedding for 25 people. That's it.
Wow.
And she's like, I want it to be romantic and warm. And so the floral is minimal, but it's just creating a candlelit, glowy, romantic, warm, enveloping experience for them to gather all of their loved ones and celebrate this union between humans that are choosing each other.
Yeah.
Hey, Leah, along those same lines, and that's a quick question that popped in my head. Sorry to keep having questions popping in my head and everything, but there are certain cultures, as I alluded to, I'm here in the South, and definitely I'm assuming with that last name that there may be some Asian part of your heritage and everything that are associated with their plant life and their plant history. So I just wondering, are certain cultures more inclined to be in tune to their plant energy than others? Because that's what I was thinking about, because I know that a lot of times people stereotype Asians as being very much involved in the plant space, and definitely there's that whole magnolia space of the South and all in that kind of way. And there are even some plants that are associated with African American cultures as well. But I was just wondering your thoughts about cultural aspects to plants and planting.
Oh, I mean, every culture has their own, and each is representative of different things to different cultural communities. And then when you get into, social communities, like there's a lot of questionable things that people plant. No, I mean, it's not questionable. It's, I guess, a social thing, right? Native plants. Yikes. I'm getting all kinds of things in on my phone right now. Like there are a lot of native plants that thrive here in Southern California. Rosemary, lavender, and back in the 70s, people would plant pampas at the front of their house if they like to swing. Right?
I know that.
I didn't know that either.
That was a long time ago, and people don't really do that anymore because there's a better way to meet those types of groups now than having to plant a plant in front of your house. But yeah, like definitely groups of people tend to care more about different plants depending on who they are. You know, money trees and magnolias have different groups.
Right.
My last name is Iranian.
Okay.
And a tree that is very important in the Iranian culture is the fiddle leaf fig tree. And it's and they're very expensive over there. And they're grown through grafting. So you take a branch off of one, but you grow the roots on the tree first before you cut the branch off, and then so they're given often as gifts, very valuable gifts, because it takes a lot of time to cultivate another tree on the same tree. It's like a baby.
Yep, totally.
You don't just give your baby away.
No, hopefully not. But you got some people that do some crazy stuff. But on that note, I'm going to get all out of here.
So
he's like, I'm out on that.
Let's talk a little bit about plants as art, because you do a lot with plants, and I know you've been involved in several showcase elements, and as a designer, I do like to bring in plants as art as well.
I love
like this amazing artist with plants. You do, do you have? I would like to see a few bouquets before we get done, but
sure, I'll take you guys for a cruise to beautiful, right now.
Very creative bouquets. It's not just something you're gonna like open up FTD and go, oh yeah, I want that. It's much more talented than that.
Well, there's value to FTD in its consistency.
Yes. Uh-oh. No, I wasn't trying to. Oh, there you go. Okay. I'm not trying to say that they're bad. You're right. There is some value there. Knowing what, because people, especially when you're picking out flowers under duress, under like difficult situation, you can't think like, oh, you're not being creative. And me, I know yellow flowers, pink flowers, green flowers. I don't know what they're called. I just like that flower. So without seeing it, I don't know that it exists,
Right. Okay. There was a lot in there. Where do you want to start with that?
Let's start with plants as art.
Plants themselves, I like creating plant walls.
Yes.
They tend to be rather expensive in construction. especially if you're doing it interior, because you have to create a waterproof barrier between the wall and your plant structure. The mechanic that's going to hold up all of the weight of the dirt and the water. And growing things hydroponically is interesting. And then you get into grow lights and things like that. If you're inside, the plants inside still need a light source. So you have UV lights that you can put that are pretty, but they still provide the light that the plants need in order to grow and thrive and still look the way that you want it to have a living art piece. And getting things to grow well together, that's the most interesting part. It takes a little bit of coaxing. That's probably the most creative way to do things is to try to get things to look right and fit right and feel right together. Because what feels right to me might not feel right to the plants, and they're the ones who need to grow together.
Right. So is that also kind of like when I'm putting accessories together, people ask me, well, how do you do that? I'm like, well, they're kind of talking to me and they just say, I want to be here, I want to be there. So is that kind of how you put a bouquet together?
Totally. Flowers off the stem. Each stem has its own personality, right? And it might have a curve in the stem, and it might have leaves here and leaves there, or an offshoot or something. And then the flower that you're going to put next to it, after you've created your nest of greenery and things, to where you're going to start with your biggest flowers, they take up the most space. And then you go in with how the relationship flowers, like your supplementary flowers. And sometimes one stem of the same thing, like you have two roses, one might work in the same spot better than the other one, just because of each individual has its own jam. So then it's trial and error a lot. And just seeing. Holding it up, right? And it's a vibe thing.
An art form. It really is an art form. You're very humble, and it's so innate in you. And I have the same thing. People ask me, well, why did you do this? I'm like, it just felt right, But
yeah, I don't know
there
how
is
to
an
better
art form
explain.
Creating the lows and the highs, and how much width do we want, and how much of the placement of the flowers. Do I want more green here? Being able to see the flowers, because you've got a lot of flowers all together. So is there one you want to highlight? Is there one that's really just meant to accentuate and provide some highlighting, and others want to play center stage? So all of these factors come into play when you're putting together
totally. Harder stems, softer stems, woodier stems. Some flowers like deep water. Some stems, the softer stems, often don't need that depth of water because the stems will be soggy. They'll get mushy and gross. Dahlias like deep water. Calla lilies don't. Anthuriums don't need that deep of water because it's a tropical flower, and orchids don't need 6-inch deep water. They just need a little bit.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. I know when they do the Rose Parade, and they have all these little vials that they put in to keep the flowers going, because they got to keep them alive. They got to, it doesn't happen overnight.
But oftentimes those vials need to be refilled because they drink, right? And what good is an empty vial?
I never thought about watering that. How do they water all those vials? That must take forever.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Someone
physically has to dump the vials in a bucket of water and then put the rubber top on that has a hole and stick the flower.
Wow.
That can only
Wow.
be done so far ahead, right?
Right.
And even with the flowers in the vial, that water's only going to last so long before it needs to be refilled again.
Yeah. That I never thought about that. That's interesting. That's
It's
amazing.
such a short, because it's the
Yeah.
flower's already off the plant. It's already dying.
Right. Right. I worked on the Rose Parade floats. I cut flowers. It was very exciting. Have you ever worked on the Rose Parade?
You know what? I have not. I have not been down there
You've done some
volunteering for the Rose Parade.
You've done a lot of work at the Huntington Gardens and the Huntington Library, and you've done some beautiful work there.
You know what? We did work for the Tournament of Roses.
Yeah.
So that's different than the floats part of the Rose Parade. We do tournament stuff. And then a lot of stuff for the equestrian divisions of the Rose Parade,
Nice.
but I haven't personally worked on the floats.
Got it. Well,
Let
some
me
of those
provide that
flowers
for
on the
clarification.
equestrian are so amazing what they do there.
The garlands on the Norwegian fjord horses, and we decorated the back of a carriage. Fun. I mean, these beautiful horses and this antique carriage and just the people that keep this history alive and are willing to travel the country to showcase what they do and their passions to the literal 1 million people that sit and view the Rose Parade, that come into Greater Pasadena to celebrate the new year with us. It's such a magical experience. I love the Rose Parade.
I do too. It's really cool. It's really cool. Is there a specific event or a challenge or like something that really stands out that you want to talk about? Most challenging, or like oh my God, we didn't think we were going to make it, and then the miracle happened and we did, or something.
Not necessarily one thing in particular, but I'm just grateful to be able to do what I love every day.
Yeah.
And to share what the gifts that I have been blessed with other people who need it in their lives. You can plant all kinds of beautiful medicinal plants outside your house, and even just looking at them will help you. Rosemary, basil, oregano, like you can cook with it, you can eat it, it's pretty, it's going to be attractive to all of the things that we need in our Southern California environment, or our global environment. We need the bees. We need the bees to be the pollinators, to move around and germinate.
Yes, very important.
Stimulating the environments that are going to cause us all to thrive, right? And I'm grateful to be a part of it. From the worm to the bee to the human to the flower.
And I know that the special occasions really are very touching for you, and you put a lot of heart into
I do. I love them.
The flower arrangement. So can we see some of your flower arrangements? Can you give us some samples?
Sure. Let's see. How do I turn this camera around?
It should be the same way you would normally do. There's a little circle thing at the bottom.
Nope, that turned it off. No circle thing.
No circle thing? All right. Well, then
let's see. Hold on. I'm just going to turn the camera around.
Just turn the camera around. Just punch.
We have some arrangements going out for a church event.
Very beautiful.
We have 26 of these babies. And then we've got
Baronia. This is called Baronia. And this has a very short season. It's very fragrant. And then purple lilac.
Very pretty.
Playa Blanca roses. These gorgeous ranunculus. Tulips. More ranunculus.
Those are so pretty.
Orchids. We've got some pink.
Really, I like ranunculus. Oh, that's one of my favorites.
The pincushions. These are called porcelina spray roses.
Pretty.
Gorgeous snapdragons, variegated snapdragons, and dogs.
And it's Pepe.
Pardon. And there's Pepe. We've got customers that walked into the store right now, so I'm popping outside just to make sure that I'm not disrupting any customers being helped here. So
awesome. All right. Well,
pardon the dog.
Thank you so much for being part of this today and for enlightening us on a lot of things about plants. I'll give you just some closing remarks if there's anything else that you want to say.
If you want to talk more about plants or see examples, please feel free to reach out. I am always here, Jeanette. Let's do this again.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. We can do this again.
Let's
broadcast. I think we really touched the surface. We could talk about a lot more things.
Oh yeah, this was very just surface scratching.
I just had a brilliant idea, Leah, because Jeanette knows I'm all about brilliant ideas. We've got the Color Whisperer with interior designers. We may have to get a plant show. So we can have a whole show just around plants and all in that life and everything. So maybe it'll be you, maybe it'll be some other plant folks and some folks from around the country and around the world talking about plants. So we might have to do a whole plant show. That was a brilliant idea that I just had. So I don't know what other folks think. And if Jeanette thinks that that's a brilliant idea too, but I just popped in my head. It's like, hey, we could have a whole show about plants. Have to come up with a catchy title like Jeanette's Color Whisperer, but there's all kinds of cool names about plants. So we could definitely call it, Perky Plants or something like that. Who knows? I'd have to come up with something better than that.
We gotta get a sponsor. We'll get Armstrong to sponsor us too.
There you go. There you go.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was awesome. We've had a wonderful day. If you've got any questions about design, I'm here. I want to make you have a home that you really love coming home to. And flowers is such an important part, and plants are such an important part. And Aaliyah, we're going to get this sad little plant in the background. We're going to replace it. So I'm putting this on your list of things to do because it's very sad, and it needs to not be sad. It needs to be happy. So we need a happier thing.
I'm going to put together a little list for you to put on your podcast website of easy to care for houseplants.
I love it. Yes, because I grew a garden last year, and I spent months watering, and all I got was 3 squash that were not really edible. So yes, we need flowers for dummies, plants for dummies, right?
Easy care plants.
Easy care plants. Okay, I like it. See, you're very politically correct. Make me feel less.
What makes your self-watering pots?
Ooh, I like that. That sounds really awesome. I like that can-do attitude. That can-do attitude.
It's all about setting yourself up for success. You got to set yourself up for success.
Yes, indeed. All right. So speaking of can-do, we're going to go to Can-Do Spice, which is amazing. If you haven't had these spices, they are wonderful. They're healthy for you. They make you feel good, and they taste wonderful. So thank you again, Aaliyah. And we will do this again.
Thank you so much. See you very soon.
All right. Bye.
You know how people love to enjoy food and don't understand how to flavor their food or how to replicate a meal? They're interested in supplements, but don't know where to begin. Well, what I do is I take the guesswork out of enjoying flavor and wellness with my flavorful spice blends so that they can create delicious meals with healing benefits. Can Do Spice was created to help cooks at any level enjoy healing through food. Every spice blend was designed to give added health benefits of natural herbs. Every blend is complete. There's no need to add any additional spice for a delicious meal. Saving you time and money while adding supplements to your meals can be both tasty and fun. My earliest memories in the kitchen began with my father, Kenny Can Do Bond, so it was fitting that I would name this line after him. I have always looked to natural remedies to supplement the body, and I found myself hiding herbs and minerals in foods for my family. That's when it hit me. Everyone needs Can Do Spice. Everyone should be having this. It's an exclusive brand for cooks at any level who want to create flavorful dishes with healing benefits that can satisfy the body and soul. Add a little spice to your life. Give Can Do Spice a try.